The engine is starting up.
For launch. GC, go. Guidance, go. Fido, go. Prop, go. GNC, go. Max, go. Eagle, go. Ecom,
go. Pending final steps. The cabin link check.
3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us? Can you give us a sign?
Welcome to the R.I.F.T Nation Network, the RNN, putting a slide in your glide and a dip in your hip. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe. With shows throughout the week, you can find us at Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Everything you could want, everything you can need right here, right now. From the paranormal to the supernatural. From comedy to the spiritual. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
It's showtime, folks!
Podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you guys are having a great day. Because I'm having a technical difficulty here. It's not popping up. There we go. Hello. I'm so thankful that you guys have come today. I apologize for last weekend. It was Easter weekend. I was a busy mama and I had to work. But nevertheless, I am here tonight and I have a really cool case file to break down with you. It's from the 50s, so from the Cold War. We have some very, very experienced hikers who unfortunately lost their lives in a mountain. But I know that seems like a cut and dry case, but this particular case features things like a possible Yeti sighting, UFO lights. Certain hikers are missing their tongue and eyeballs, but the rest of their body was intact. It's a whole big thing, and I'm so excited to break this down. It's a fun case, not a fun case because it's a sad case, but I am thankful to break it down because it's one of my favorite cases to really talk about because it has so many aspects of rational explanations as well as supernatural, and it still hasn't been solved. In 2020, they tried to reopen the case and they still haven't figured out what's going on. They blame it on the avalanche. We'll talk about that, but there's a lot more to the story. Dawn, hello. I'm so happy to see everyone. Thank you guys so very much for coming in. So let's get started. So this is called the Dyatlov Pass Incident because it's based in Russia at the Ural Mountains, and we're going to talk about that. And we're going to break down these hikers and all the things. Hello, Heidi. I'm so happy you're here. From Boulder, Colorado. You're not late. You're right on time. You're never late. I learned that from my friend, Amy. She says, you're never late, you're right on time. And I'm actually just getting started. So I am so happy you're here. Yes, please, guys, I want you, as I talk about the theories and everything, I want you guys to give me your opinion. If there's something you think it could be, or it's just a crazy theory, let me know. I'm going to break down all the theories, rational and supernatural. So some will seem out there and some of them will seem like, okay, maybe. But remember, guys, this case has not been solved yet. Wasn't there some new findings? Yes, so they did in 2019 and 2020, and I'm going to talk about that. They reopened the case. Remember, the case happened in the 50s. It was 1959. And then they figured out they found all the bodies, but they could not figure out exactly what happened because of all the different aspects of it. So then they left it alone. And then come 2019, one of the people over there was like, hey, let's reopen this case, figure it out. They finally said they still can't figure it out. They're going to blame it on the avalanche slab. And we'll talk about what that means. And so we don't know. Deb, hello. Yeah, I have another chance I was scrolling to. I'm so happy you're here, Heidi. I'm really grateful. I love it. So I'm going to bring up, as always, I've got plenty of pictures. So just give me a second to get that loaded. And we're going to break down all these peeps in this this thing. Let's talk about, first I want to talk about the team. So let me bring up the team first. Okay. I watched a few documents. Hi, Susan. Welcome in. Thank you so much for sharing. It is really intriguing. Okay. So should I do a side by side or can you guys still see it? No, I'm going to go back and pick them up bigger because this is important. So let's talk about these hikers. Now you might be thinking, why would somebody decide to do this? Now, for one, most of these were either students or they had graduated from the college. They were at I wrote it down. It was oh my goodness, what is the name of the college? I'll get to it in a second. It was a very fancy college. They were into science and things like that. And they were all experienced hikers. So the reason that they picked this certain trail is because this was considered a level 3. And we're going to talk about the levels of hiking. It is one of the most rigorous, that you can do. And if you did it and successfully came back, you got all these amazing accommodations and, you were a big deal. So again, these are not just amateurs hiking. These are all very well-trained hikers. And I wrote down a few facts about each one, just so that we can kind of humanize these people and make sure we remember that these are humans. So let's start with the first woman. She was a determined young woman known for her endurance. Yuri was known for their resilience to the extreme. The next one down was strong and athletic. And then we go over to the right. He was tough and experienced in mountain hiking. Right down, we have a physics student. Nicolo is studious and practical. Simon was a war veteran, older than the rest. And the 10th member, Yuri, where it says Yuri Yudin, that one actually, this person got sick. So they started out the trail with them, but they got sick. They had some issues with sciatica and what we call today rheumatoid arthritis. They realized the cold, plus the cold and the wind, it was not going to make it. So they actually left and they got to live while the other 9 people continued on. Hello, Michelle. I'm so happy you're here. Welcome in. We're talking about the Dyatlov. I always butcher that name so much. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. Okay. So these are our wonderful folks. All of these folks unfortunately passed away minus one because they, could not continue. Now, this guy right here, he is why it's named that, because it is named after him. He is one of the leading members of the team. He was the one that was in charge and, handled everything. Now, to be fair, and the reason we have so much evidence is because every single one of them took cameras and they journaled their whole trip. Everything was journaled. Everything was photographs. I have some photographs here today to show you guys. However, on your own time, and because I don't know, if there's a trigger warning or anything, there are actual photos of the bodies that were found. I did not include this in this presentation because that is very triggering. So I just want you guys to see them when they were happy and living their best life versus the way they are when they were found. However, all you have to do is Google this incident and you can see those photos for yourself if you choose to do so. Okay, now before I show you guys some more pictures of them, let me see. Let's first look at the scene. So the Ural Mountains is humongous, and it is said to be older than the Himalayas, and is one of the most roughest trails that you can take. And in fact, the Mansi indigenous tribe, that's people that still live there, they call it Dead Mountain because it's one of those mountains that if you go into it, you probably, unless you are them who are used to living in the elements and know how to live with all that, you're not going to come back out, as we're going to see tonight from this. Just share it out to Meta, watching on my TV and channel on my phone. I am so thankful. Do you have your snacks? I tell everybody get a snack because, an hour of a lot of information. So I'm going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the timeline of the bodies being found. And then I'm going to talk about all the theories, rational and supernatural. So we're talking about how the bodies were found, what was freaky about them, and then we will talk about what could have happened to them. And of course I have a ton of photos. So that is the mountain. Now you're probably looking at that mountain right now and saying, oh, that's beautiful. That's so nice. But that's, of course, what it look like when it's nice and pretty. If you are hiking, if they're going to pop up, this is what you're going to see. This is what you would see. And of course, we have to think there's probably animals and different things like that. And we're going to talk about certain winds, we're going to talk about infrasound, frequency levels. It's going to be really in deep with this presentation. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I always write my notes, and I was smiling because in my notes, my daughter she's 5, she saw my notes and she drew a little hiker on there for me. So we talked about the peeps. So let's break down a timeline. So again, they decide they're going to do this level 3 hike. And I think I have a picture explaining that too. Let me see if that pulled up. And then I'm going to show you another picture before I break down the timeline. Do I have a picture of the different types? Here we go. Okay, so this kind of tells you if it's a type 1, this is like your entry level. Anybody, within reason can probably do this hike. This is a good starting point. Then you have type 2, which are, still is a little bit harder, but, with the right equipment and everything, you got it. And then you have type 3. You're going to get the best awards for this one. This is going to be the hardest. You're going to have a whole lot of equipment. You're going to have a lot of hard training to even attempt this. Now, your girl ain't going up a mountain for nobody. I don't like to be cold, frozen. I like my fingers attached to my body. You're not going to catch me hiking no mountains in the cold, in the woods, ever. I don't know. I like to say that because I watch a lot of those shows like Alone, where they put you in an island and see if you can survive for like a whole lot of money. And I'm always like, that sounds great, but I probably wouldn't make it through the first day. I'm just being honest. So now remember, you're going to wonder where I got these photos from. They took a lot of photos, and when they found the bodies, they found the camera. So this is how we have photos of these, of the journey. Here's another one. So as you can see in this photo now, granted, it's not the best quality. This is the 50s, people. But look, you can't even see in front of you. No, this is insane. All right. Hi, Kristen. Welcome in. Okay, I want to get another picture, and then we can actually see their faces. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So I want to break down the timeline before we start talking about possibilities, and I start breaking down what an avalanche slab is, what sounds are, how catabolic waves of things can mess you up, make you hallucinate, and things like that. So let's do the timeline real quick, because I actually wrote down date by date so we have a setting here. Yes, Kristen's in the building. Kristen, I know you've heard me talk about this before in my other thing, but I really love this case. So January 23rd, the expedition begins. This is when the one person I told you didn't really get sick, but they realized, hey, my body ain't gonna work. I have rheumatoid arthritis. They didn't know what it was called back then, and they had sciatica, and it wasn't gonna make it. They were equipped with all their equipment. They all had journals. They all had cameras, and they had certain places that they would make it to, and then they would contact their family to let you know, hey, we're alive, we're good. So January 28th kicks off. They are good to go. They are hiking. February 1st, 1959, this is the final campsite that they're going to build. So from January 23rd to February 1st, they were doing their thing. They were hiking, doing well. February 1st, this is the final, as far as the journal timeline and forensics and things like that. This was their final campsite. And we're going to talk about the tent. So I'm going to skip over that because I want to break that down. And I actually have a picture of the tent, and we're going to talk about why the tent is relevant. So around February 20th, they were supposed to be back, at least until their next destination where they would contact their families. February 20th happens. Families like, no one's calling us. Something is wrong. And all the families of these 9 hikers that are very experienced, remember, they're like, you need to send a search party. So the search party hits. They are looking. Now, so the tent, do I have a picture of the tent? The tent was found on February 26th. Let me see if I have a picture of the tent. Again, if you're just tuning in, I omitted any picture. There's a lot of pictures of the bodies and the evidence. I'm not including that because that's really rough to look at. Okay, so this is their last tent. Obviously, a couple of weeks that went by, whether it hit it. But you're probably wondering, okay, of course they had a tent, which is right. However, they cut their way out of the tent from the inside. And they left the tent with no clothes on. Well, they had like maybe their underwear. Because when the bodies were found, they were practically naked or in underwear. They did not put shoes on their feet. Nothing. They booked it. And remember, they cut it from the inside. We all know that tents have a little zipper or something that you open it up and come on out. They didn't even bother to hit that. They used their knife and they cut it and fled that quick. And we're going to talk about a few reasons why that could have happened. All their stuff was still in the tent, minus a couple of cameras that were found on the bodies. But journals, clothes, food, the scene looked like they were eating because all the food was freshly out, like they had been sitting down to have their dinner. And then something happened and they cut themselves out. Yes, that is the biggest clue right there, guys. I want y'all to hold on to. Imagine being in a tent and you're happy. You've been there. We're in a weekend, and something scares you so bad, a whole group of you, that you have to cut yourself out the tent. You don't just rationalize, okay, let me go open the door like a normal person would. No, we gotta get out of here right this second. And we're gonna talk about why that could be. Okay, so when they got there, they saw the tent, they saw the condition, they got the items. They noticed footprints leaving the tent. And of course, it's snow, it's ice. So they pretty much are encapsulated and you're able to follow that. So that was February 26th when they finally got to the tent. February 27th, the first 2 bodies were found 1 kilometer from the tent under a cedar tree. Now, they both had burn marks on their bodies, bruises, foaming at the mouth. They were in their underwear. Obviously, they had hypothermia. They're in the cold. And one of the bodies had their knuckles were bitten, and it looked like it was self-inflicted. It didn't look like an animal had got it. It looked like they bit their own knuckles. And the reason why they think they did it, because they found the knuckle skin in the person's mouth. Hi, Keith. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for sharing. So we have 2 bodies. Let me pull up just so you guys can kind of get an image again, in case you're just tuning in, of what these people look like. I think this is important. I'm going to give this picture because it shows everybody. Or not. Did it go? There it goes. Okay. So first 2 bodies, burns all over. 1 bit their knuckles. The skin is still in the mouth. Cause of death, hypothermia. And we're going to get down to that. So then of course, it takes days. Elements are rough. So then March 5th comes. 3 more bodies were found between the tent and the cedar tree. So as you can see, they're not getting far. So 2 bodies first, then March 5th, 3 more bodies were found. Now, these bodies had bruised knuckles again, scratches, frostbite. These ones, they had light clothing on. These were very frostbit. It looked like they had been running, and one of the bodies looked like it had tried to crawl back to the tent. But again, no clothes, freezing temperatures, things like that. So then we move on. So that was March. And then we, hold on. Let me make sure I got here it is. Okay. Then we move on, and they found buried under 13 feet of snow was a couple more. It was like a den-like structure, so it looked kind of like a cave. They found a couple more bodies in. So these couple of people was able to leave the tent, whatever was making them leave, and they found like a little hole in the snow that they could kind of bury themselves and get some relief and shelter from the wind. Now, these people had crushed ribs, and one of the bodies was holding a camera, and that body was missing their eyeballs. Now, full body, untouched, minus frostbite and things, but the eyeballs are gone. The other body, full body, untouched, frostbite, of course, missing its tongue. So we're missing eyeballs or missing tongue, and we got broken ribs, like they had been smashed. Missing tongue, missing eyes, and also some missing facial features. Those bodies, and cause of death was internal bleeding, obviously, from the crushed ribs. And so that's all 9. Also, there were some skull fractures, things like that. And deformed neck was the last body, nose damage, exposed skull, and the way that the body was positioned was strange. Yeah. Oh, wait, I missed something. I'm so sorry, guys. I did not mean to ignore the chat. I was making sure I didn't. If it was February 2nd, this happened. The groundhog is a rodent of interest. That's funny, Larry. I like that. So I just want to break it down. Then we're going to break down, again, rational versus supernatural reasons. Now, some key facts I wrote down so I didn't forget. There was no signs of struggle with anyone. Also, I want you to remember this because I'm going to talk about UFOs in a second. The clothing on some of the bodies was positive for radiation. So there was radioactive material on some of the clothing on the bodies. So if you're in the middle of the mountains, why do you have radiation in your clothes? We're going to talk about that. I just want to point that out. And there's no evidence, even though they try to say it was probably an animal, and hey, maybe it was. There was no evidence of an actual animal attack. Why would an animal leave your full body and just take your eyeballs or just take your tongue? That's a little weird. Yeah, really weird. So I want you guys to hold on to that evidence while I break down all the possibilities, right? And again, only one survivor because he could not go. So let's break down some of the rational theories before we go into the fun, my favorite, supernatural. Yeah, that is really crazy. I think I have a picture of the one that did not go. Did I save a picture? Yeah, this one. Let me show this real quick. So the one that they're hugging, that is the one that did not go because of the rheumatoid arthritis and sciatica. And just a reminder, yes, it is, Robert. It definitely is. We're breaking down all the theories of what happened because the case has still not been solved, minus they say it was an avalanche. But the avalanche doesn't explain missing tongues and missing eyeballs. So just saying. I mean, that wasn't there. So he did not go. Sciatica. And again, this is a great level 3 hiking. These are all very experienced hikers. It's not their first rodeo. Combat vets collect body parts sometimes. But wouldn't you find them? Like, they would be somewhere, right? I guess they could be buried in the snow, technically. I mean, there's a lot of snow. At first, I was thinking maybe they were hallucinating. Hold on to that, Michelle, because that is a theory that I'm going to talk about and why that could happen if you're in these elements. I have all this. So let's break down the rational theories first. So let's talk the obvious. Where's my picture? Okay. Do I have a different one? No, I don't have. So what they want to say, well, what they believe happened is a slab avalanche. So a slab avalanche looks like this. It's where not the whole snow comes flying down, but just a part of the top half. And it will slide down. And when it slides down, it makes a very, like, you'll hear the wind and you'll hear a loud noise and you know it's coming. So in theory, they're saying, well, maybe that's why they cut. Remember, they cut themselves out the tent. They didn't just open it and say, okay, I'm out. They literally ripped themselves out naked. Run it. Excuse me, I have hiccups. So maybe, that was coming. They got out real quick. Now, a slab avalanche could hit you up. It can weigh like 1,000 tons. It's very heavy snow. It's very impacted. It slides down, and when it hits you, it's going to hit you hard. Now, the only problem with this theory is they didn't see any signs of an avalanche around the tent. So, I mean, where did the snow go? If it's something as big as this big chunk of stuff falling down, you're going to see it near the area. But again, this is what they say probably happened. And it's a hard slab. It's very hard. It will hit you. And that would explain like crushed ribs and things like that. I heard stories about them from Dad. He talked briefly how, really? Oh, it's a really good one. It's a really good story. It's one of my favorite cases. I studied it originally when I was like 17 because I was like, this has got to be like some kind of UFO or spy thing because of the radiation on the clothes. It's a whole thing. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. But so again, was it my cat? Hey, stop shaking the camera. My cat is like, I need attention. Was it a slab avalanche? That's theory number one. Now, Michelle talked about hallucinations. Okay, hold on to that because we're going to talk about this next. I'm a very picture person, guys, so I have pictures for everything. This is one thing. So, katabatic winds. These happen at any time there's a downslope. And if you're in the mountains and if you're going down, these winds are very, very strong and they rush down at speeds of a hurricane. That's how fast they can rush. So the radiation is really interesting. Yes, they tested the clothes and there was radiation on the clothing. And I'm going to talk to you about how that could be possible too. It's really cool. Again, these winds can hit you like a hurricane. And if they're in the tent and they're hearing these winds, they probably are thinking something's about to drop. It's about to be an avalanche because it will sound like that, even if there's not going to be one happening. Now, this doesn't only happen in Russia. These winds can happen anywhere where you have a downslope with the correct breeze of the mountain, the coldness. You have to have all the perfect storm, right? It creates these winds. They some places are very violent. Some places, like obviously in this one, it talks about other places around the world, like Rhone Valley, that are not as violent. Hello from the bunker in Bon Air. Hello. And a shout out to Rebecca Rose and Russ. Hello. I'm so happy you're here. Bon Air. I was in Bon Air today. I'm sorry, but why were they naked in the tent to begin with? Did I miss something? Well, I mean, okay. So they weren't all like completely naked. Some of them had their underwear on. I don't know why they decided to sleep like that. I don't know. I don't have an answer, but apparently they like to sleep in their underwear. And the funny thing is, if you want to leave a tent, you would think you'd at least grab your shoes, right? Because you're about to go on these elements. They didn't even grab their shoes. Some of them were barefoot and some of them had just socks on when they cut themselves out the tent. That's why it's really weird. Whatever it was really hit them and panic. And I don't believe it was an animal or anything like that because, again, these are very experienced, trained hikers. They're used to elements. They know what to do. So this had to be something really scary. Okay. Sorry, I was missing something about these winds. Let's talk about the next thing. Let's talk about something that a lot of people don't understand. And I talk about frequencies. Don will tell you, he's in the chat. I talk about frequencies all the time. Let's talk about infrasound. So infrasound is something that they use a lot in the world today. It's how our ears are sensitive There's high tones, low tones, all kinds of tones. There's frequencies for sleep. There's frequencies for healing. There's frequencies for torture. It is proven that they have used frequencies for torture. Well, when you're in these mountain valleys and things like that, it can cause these very low, sensitive, vibrational sounds that our ears don't always pick up, but we are affected by them. And these sounds, they can cause fear. They will make you feel scared. They will make you hallucinate. They will make you feel all the things. Frequency needs to be researched more. Absolutely. I agree, Dawn. It does. It really does. I want you guys to think about something. I'm pretty sure every single one of us listening have at least watched one scary movie, right? When you watch a scary movie, and either in the beginning of the movie or right up to the jump scare, what do you hear? You hear music. They purposely put these tone music because the sounds you will hear automatically what? It makes you scared. You're scared. You're like, holy crap, something's about to jump out of here. Well, sometimes our ears don't always pick up. Now, unless you're like a super sensitive person, a lot of my gifted medium psychics, they experience frequency differently than, other people do. And, sometimes kids and animals. And of course, animals can pick up frequencies that we cannot. As far as I know, these hikers are not taking the animals with them. It was just the 9 of them. So, right on. Yeah, absolutely. So what happened is if you're in the mountain, you got these catabolic winds going, you got avalanches could happen, you got snow moving, it's freezing cold. The vacuum suction of it can create a natural infrasound, and your ears will not pick it up because we're thinking, okay, why don't I hear it? But it's too low. Instead, your ears it is affecting you, but it's affecting you differently. You're getting scared. You're hallucinating. You're thinking you're hearing something. You think you see something. You think something's coming. So this is another thing that could have happened when they were in that tent. These sounds hit them. And they were like, we got to, they started getting sick from it, and they had to get out of there right now. I mean, it has to be something very serious to leave your clothes and your shoes and all your personal belongings and run out of a tent, cut yourself out of a tent. Also, hypothermia, just to play devil's advocate. Hello, Glinda. I'm so happy you're here. We've been talking about this amazing Russian hikers that went missing. So if you have hyperthermia and you've been out in the elements and you are cold and you're losing your body temperature because your body's going to take away from your toes and your fingers. That's why the toes and the fingers, we lose those first because the blood will rush away to protect your vital organs. Well, when you are hypothermic, also, just like I said, you can hallucinate, things like that. Your blood pressure will be wonky. Things like that. Now, granted, that wouldn't explain why they cut themselves out the tent. That would have had to happen after the fact. But so far, it wasn't an avalanche, which they blame. Wasn't the infrasound. Wasn't the katabatic winds. Hyperthermia, which I don't agree with because that would be, kind of out there. Oh, you been hearing, Larry? We use frequency music on prisoners of war overseas. Yeah, a lot of people were shocked when I told them that frequency music can be used for torture. It can be used for anything. Frequencies can make happy sounds. They can, like I said, if you watch a scary movie, the first thing they're going to do is then put that sound right before the jump scare. So you're already like this and you're like covering your head, one eye open to see when is it going to jump. Sonics can be weaponized sound and can also make you lose your body functions. Yes, Robert, he is absolutely right. I should have said that. You will use the bathroom on yourself. Yes, absolutely. It's really sad. And there's purposeful ones where, if you're going to be tortured, it's going to be purposeful. And then there's accidental ones where you're just happen to be in the mountain and you're in the perfect storm of all the suction and all causing it to happen. Again, so this is a possibility. And so speaking of military, because my Marines up in here, Dawn, calling you out, military testing, right? Do I have a picture? I try not to put too much military stuff because, I think it's kind of funny about that. Let me see. Oh, I want to show you guys one more picture of the slab avalanche because I just seen this was here and I didn't show you guys this to kind of show you from a side view. You see how it's thick right there? Imagine that whole slab fell. And again, it can weigh 1,000 tons when it falls. So just to kind of give you like an actual visual of what one would look like once it's gone. So when it comes to the military, hold on. Let me find my little picture here. Where you go? I don't want to show that one yet. Okay, I don't have it. I thought I had it. Obviously, I don't. For some reason, let me do it. Well, that's no fun. Okay, I will just put them back. I had a picture, and I don't know why. Maybe it's blocking me from showing it, but it was of a parachute mine. So if you're in the military, you know what a parachute mine looks like. Imagine a parachute with a mine on the bottom, and it goes down, but kaboom. So a theory is, was there military testing done on this mountain in Russia? We are doing the Cold War, guys. Was there testing done? And these hikers, for some reason, even though they had a specific direction they were going, maybe they kind of went off the beaten path a little bit, and maybe they walked upon something they shouldn't have. Now, this would coincide with the radiation. Again, remember, if you were here in the beginning, I told you some of the clothes had radiation. Did they accidentally step into a military testing spot on the mountain? Because the mountain would be a perfect spot for military testing because it's secluded. Nobody lives on it. Nobody's usually visiting it. And I don't know if they had to get like special clearance to go here. I don't know how that works over there with hiking, but this was a planned trip from students. So I'm assuming they did the right thing. Who knows though? So did they accidentally touch some kind of military spot and the government came for them? There's theories that maybe the government found them and scared them. There's also theories, guys, and the person swears it's not true. That sounds like KGB stuff. Yeah. So remember I told you the 10th member got sick and did not go. Well, there's theories that maybe he came to tell one of these people that were supposed to be a spy to gather information, and there's somebody in this group that knew something, and he was supposed to return it back. Now, I think that's a stretch. That's a stretch for me, but I have to include all the theories here, right? So military testing is definitely doable. It would explain the radiation unless you are team UFOs, because a lot of people that have been abducted, like what was it? Is it Barney and I forgot, was his wife's name Beverly or something? I can't remember that one case where her dress had like radioactive stuff on it or something. There's been a few cases where there's some kind of substance that comes back from the extraterrestrial ship or craft or whatever you want to call it. So why did these people have radioactive on their clothing? And you would think the elements, how would you even get it? Obviously, radiation poisoning will make you hallucinate. It will make you very sick, but not every single one of them had it, right? So not every single one of them had radiation. So it doesn't explain why the whole group got scared and left. If every single clothing had it, then I could see maybe it was radiation poisoning. But I just don't agree with that. And again, we don't explain why we're losing eyeballs and tongues. Okay, what's next? Let me make sure that I get all my... I already talked about snow slabs. Okay, let's talk about the fun, my favorite, the supernatural side of what could have happened. I'm going to show you a photo that came from their camera and what they tried to say it was, which I don't believe, but you know, never know. Thought just theory could have been tested microwave, which can make crazy and leave burn marks. That is a really good thought. That is a really good one. I like that, Robert. Let me, should I overlay this so you guys can see each other? I will do that. It's not showing. There we go. Okay. That way I don't miss anything. Okay. So you see this picture. So they came out. This picture came off of their camera. Maybe trying to retrieve a nuclear bomb. It could be. It could be. They could have. It definitely could have happened. It could have been something on that mountain that one of them in the group were meant to go get. Or they, like I said, they might have stumbled in somewhere they should not have been. You know, wrong place, wrong time. The government denies all these claims. But I have to throw it out there. So this is a picture that came off the camera. and a lot of people said that this is a Yeti. I'm not saying it's a Yeti. A lot of people are saying it's a Yeti. One thing is when I do this, hold on. You can't see me. There we go. Okay. So is this a Yeti? I still don't like that. I might have to cut the chat back off. I want you guys to be able to see the picture good. Okay, there I am. I'm down there. Let me cut this off for a second. Okay, there we go. Now you can see me. Okay. And we can see the chat. Cool. So they said it's a Yeti. Now, to me, that looks like a person. So if it's not a Yeti, could this be a government official or some other being that was on the mountain? Now, remember, these mountains are in the middle of nowhere. They're older than the Himalayas. The temperatures are not livable. Why would this be out there? They said maybe it's one of the other hikers, but it doesn't match. Again, the people that are looking for a story and trying to push it, say it's a Yeti. I think that it might be maybe it's somebody that was spying on them, or it could be Yeti. Who knows? Looks like a human being. First thought when I see the pic is a chemical suit. Oh, that's a good thought, Robert. When I first saw it, I was like, that's not a Yeti. That's I call them the Men in Black because you never know the theories of the Men in Black. Like the movie, they come in their suits and they come and be like, you ain't seen nothing. That's what I thought about when I mean, obviously this was not a suit, but I was like, that's got to be a military personnel and hazmat suit. There you go. This has got to be a military personnel. I was like, oh no, you guys are messed up. Maybe they had been watching them, right? They took a picture. Something happened. They cut out the tent. I don't understand why the military would take their tongue and eyes. I'm still stuck on the tongue and eye thing. So this would go inside with the theory called the government cover-up. Did they see something that they shouldn't have, and the government took them out? That could be silenced, because a lot of times if you know something, there's only one way to truly silence you, and that would be that way. So that is a theory. Now, let me show you another picture that was found on their cameras. Okay, here we go. This picture was found on their cameras too. Now, in their journal entries, I know that doesn't look like much, but in their journal entries, they had put a couple entries that said, hey, we're seeing strange lights over the mountain. At night when they would be getting ready for bed and they were having their dinner and probably going to the bathroom, whatever, they would see these strange lights and they took a photo of it and they journaled about it. Mop level 4 suit. Yeah, see, I know nothing about those, but thank you. I knew you would know. Well, I knew somebody in this chat would know, especially you. So what is this? So they try to say that this is a UFO. I don't know if it's a UFO. It could be an orb. It could be a light. It could be anything. But just for theory purposes, it was journaled. It was journaled that they were weird lights, and it happened on more than one night. So they were like, well, maybe they witnessed UFO activity and the UFO extraterrestrials scared them out of the tent. They ran, and then they passed away during to the elements. Obviously you cannot survive in the snow if you don't have clothes on and you don't have food and water and proper medical care. You will not survive. So is it UFO? Is this just a light? Is this a military light? Because that goes right back to the military thing, right? The military would obviously use lights and things like that on the mountain. Just a little thought to keep in your head. Okay, we have a couple more. Then we have the obvious, and if you have any relative to these, I'm not accusing them, just for laying it out there. So the Mansi people of this particular place, there's theory that maybe, I don't know if maybe there was words exchanged and these people attacked them, and that's why they took their tongue in their eyeballs. I wasn't there, so I'm not saying they did. I'm saying that these people are native to the area, and maybe they felt like, they were coming in on their turf. Maybe they, again, got off the beaten path and went somewhere where they weren't meant to. And this particular tribe, decided to take matters into their own hands. there's that theory. And excuse my son, he's having a moment if you guys hear him. Then we have, of course, this one right here, which is one of my favorite, because I love portals. Did they embark on a portal or a time slip? Did they accidentally, on this mountain, enter or experience a portal, and then when they came back, like they're called, it's an indigenous tribe called the Mansi people. They've been living in that area for many long time. And they're very protective. So maybe they felt like, why are you here? Maybe there was words exchanged. Again, I wasn't on the mountain, so I can't speak for either side. But that's a good possibility. So did they enter a time portal, and then when they came back, they were confused, they were hallucinating? There's that possibility too. There's so much stuff here to talk about, and we really don't know, because again, so here's a picture just to show you kind of before it gets too late. This is a picture of a person opening up the case in 2019, 2020. They decided, hey, we're going to reopen the case. And they did, and they decided, we still don't know what's going on. We're going to call it a slab avalanche, mark it, close it. There you go. But to this day, there's no real evidence of what happened. Oh, I have this too. So this is kind of showing you the tent all the way to the left, and then each little red blip from the tent to the tree and over is where the bodies were found. 1959. 1959, right smack, Cold War era, Russia, Ural Mountains. Again, if you so choose, trigger warning, discretion used, you can see the evidence from the scene on Google of the bodies when they found them. I did not include that, again, I just don't feel like that's something we should be broadcasting online. But if you guys want to dig a little deeper, you can. So what do you guys think? I would love to know. Let me see. Let me make sure I didn't miss no pictures for you guys. Again, we have hikers, very, very, very talented, have been hiking. They passed all the things. They cut themselves out of the tent. They were all found days in between. Some were missing tongues, some missing eyeballs, some had skull fractures, some had broken ribs. Some had bit their own knuckle skin off. So the slab avalanche, this is interesting. Yeah, it is interesting. And think about the poor families. I think the number 10 person that did not go, I think they passed away in 2013 maybe, or somewhere around that time. And it is said that they really did live with a lot of regret. They really felt bad because they lost all their friends when they were supposed to be on the trip too. So they struggled for a long time with that. Now, the slab avalanche theory would account for the ribs being broken, and, frostbite would be any of it. The only problem with that, again, is there was no slab avalanche around the tent to say, hey, definitely KGB trying to hide something. So Don sticks to the government cover-up. I like that. A lot of people, Don, will agree with you. I think there's a little more to it. I would love to see that when it comes to UFOlogy, I would love to see more research done on people that have been taken and brought back. And I like to see like their clothes that they were wearing get tested, things like that. I think there needs to be more research into that, because I think it has a lot to do with the radiation and things that were found in their clothes. I don't know, but this is deep. I'm telling you guys, I have a lot. You guys are going to see me every Friday, and I'm going to bring up a lot of things for you guys. Now you can see me. Hello. I'm going to bring up a lot of deep cases, because I don't just do simple, scary, movie stuff. I like to go deep. I want the things that will blow your your mind. I want you guys to think outside the box. Think about, because it's easy to say, oh, it was an avalanche. Well, an avalanche doesn't take your eyeballs and your tongue and leave the rest of your body. An avalanche does not leave radiation on your clothes. An avalanche doesn't make you bite your own skin. Now, an avalanche might make you cut yourself out the tent, but again, rationally, you would just open the door, grab your boots, and go. Why would they need to cut themselves out of the tent while mid-eating with no clothes on and run for their life? Hi, Melanie. This made you think? So I have one saying that is KGB. I have a couple people saying they don't know. Does anybody agree with the avalanche, or does anybody think that the indigenous tribe might have, scared them? Or does anybody think, and I also think that sound had a lot to do with this. I think the eyes and tongue thing sound like a torture bypass. Ooh, I didn't think about that, Glenda. That's a good point. So I think we're all agreeing on government, right? I think it's interesting, and the sound could accompany the government too, because we all know that they use it allegedly. But I think sound had a lot to do with them hallucinating, or maybe left them leaving. I think the sound got to them, and they won't write in their mind, and that's why they cut themselves out and took off. I love your break. Oh, thank you, Deb. I appreciate you coming. I am so grateful that you guys came. I always try to break down, and I will always come with plenty of pictures and things. I don't want you guys just to be bored looking at me. I like to show you. I feel like when you're looking at a case, visuals are important, right? So I want to I was not going to say this, but could have been a KGB training exercise to weed out the unmotivated. Ooh, Robert, that's a good one I didn't even think about. See, that's why I like your guys' opinion. That's really good. And again, there is a little bit of some iffy stuff, and why all of a sudden we have one person's like, you know what, I'm just going to head on back home. Don't think it was an avalanche. Something or someone got close to them to do that. Cold War Russia was brutal. Good point. I love the show. Thank you, Heidi. Recruiting. Yeah. Yeah. Heidi, do you get a chance to check out the other shows on RNN network? Also, guys, Glenda is in the house, and she has a show on Wednesdays on her page. We have a lot of cool people in here tonight. So make sure you guys check each other out. I was trying to think what I want to say. Okay, I got a few minutes. I want to go through the pictures one more time just in case anybody was kind of like a little late or behind on coming in because you were busy. So I just want to go through. So the picture that's up right now obviously is all 10. No, that's all 9. Sorry. Was it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Yeah, there's one more person I'll show you. I have a picture of them that backed out. These are the people that actually went. Okay, let me show you. This is our leader hiker. So this is Russia. I have a lot of questions about the 10th person. The fact that they cut the tent tells me they were psychotic break, probably in the food. The eyes and ears were a message. See nothing, say nothing. Where was this one woman found? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. See, no, that's a good one, Larry. You're right. Oh, and I didn't even think about that. Larry makes a good point. What if something was in the food? That's a good point. So this is the leader of the hiking adventure. This is why it's named what it is, after Mr. Man right here. Let me show you the one that's a survivor. Hold on. Let me show you. I got a picture of my mouse. I need to actually use a real mouse and not this pad because my fingers be doing the things. Okay. So you see how they're hugging it out? That one is the one that decided, you know what? I'm going to check out. Which one has a birthday the night before? They are all shared an orange, some kind of fruit. Ooh, I don't know which one had a birthday. That's a good point. That's a good point. Let me see. I wrote down wrote down the facts. Did I write anything special about? No, that's not the right one. Here it is. Yuri, the 10th man, turned back. No, his decision saved his life. So the guy that's like kind of buckled back, he's the one that decided to go back. The only thing I wrote about him was he just had an illness. One of them was a war veteran, so that could be linked to military. Well, that is linked to military, obviously, but government wise. One was a physics student. One was very practical. One was the young woman that was known for her endurance, so she had something to prove. And then the rest of them were like just students or and tough and things like that. Nothing really stuck out. The only one that really stuck out was the war veteran and this physics student. Thanks, Ashley. Awesome show. Big night. Yes, I'm so thankful. Yeah, we have an anniversary Sunday night for Ed's show. Make sure you guys turn that in. Thank you for coming. All right, let me just go through because we have about 5 minutes. Do you guys have any other thoughts about it? This is what it looked like when they were hiking. This is why you would not catch me out here looking like this. See that? They can't even see in front of them. Now I know that, like I said, this is 1959. There's not good picture quality, but you would not catch Ashley up on no mountain like this. I don't care what kind of metal you're going to put on my body. The reopening of the case after the last one died was rushed or given it a definite conclusion. Yes. Well, that's a good point. Well, their conclusion was a slab avalanche. But, and hey, again, maybe it was. In case nobody didn't see what a slab avalanche really looks like when it does. This breaks it down. It breaks off, and then the whole thing comes barreling. Just the top half will come barreling down on top of you. And no one really survives that because it's a ton of snow. And again, that would say, hey, this is why we're being crushed. Again, there's some other things, though. So this was the tent when they found it after it had been all cut up. I don't know. The member of the Dyatlov Pass group whose birthday was the day before. Her birthday was January 12th, 1937. Oh, thank you for searching that. I'm so thankful for that. I didn't even pay attention to the fact that one of them had a birthday, so you better than me. This is kind of tells you the tent, the footprints, the bodies were found. This is more like a overhead when the helicopters were coming in. Look. This is what it looks like from a perspective of somebody painting a picture. See, you got to hike up there, and there's no. I like my bed. I did cold weather training, built an igloo and everything on active duty. Official version Russia propaganda. Yeah. Dawn, you built an igloo? I don't know. Well, I guess you didn't have a choice to do that, right? I would be shaking in my boots. I would be, I don't know. Hey, Bob, happy birthday. Today's my uncle's birthday. He just popped in. Hello, we're just finishing up. So, guys, let's see. I heard that in a documentary where they are shared an orange or something the night before. That's a good possibility that orange might have been laced with something. Who knows? Again, I wasn't there, guys, so every theory I gave you guys is just up to you guys to take your thoughts and make it what you want, what you would think it would be, because I wasn't there. But I stand with there was some kind of funny business going on that mountain. I think it was government related, but I could be horribly wrong, and it could just be an avalanche. Just saying. Yep. So 9 people unfortunately lost their life. Great. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate each and every one of you guys being here. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to close this up because I know you guys have things you want to do, like go to bed. Very interesting case. The boots we used didn't use socks. What? Dawn, you were in the snow with no socks? You have toes still? Oh, my goodness. When you work in the hospital, I've never seen frostbite I've only seen it on pictures. I've never seen it on an actual person. But some things you see, it's like, no, I'm so good in my little box of a house. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. I am so grateful you guys on a Friday night could be anywhere in the world, and you guys chose to see me ramble and hear my thoughts. And I'm so grateful and thank you. I will see you guys on next Friday at 9. I will post this week. I'm still working on what my topic will be next. I will post that on Monday, so be on the lookout for that. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Make sure you do something for yourself. Make sure you are enjoying some nature this weekend if the pollen don't take you out in the first place, like it's doing here in Virginia. And I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you again so very much. And my computer's going to freeze now. Okay. Have a good night, guys.